There was an icy tragedy on the ski slopes at Vail, Colorado today, and for
March 26, 1976, NBC National focuses on Vail, Colorado.
Hundreds of skiers were trapped in gondola cars high above the slopes. It began when two of the cars snapped loose from their cables and plunged 100 feet to the snowy ground.
Spring break on a sunny Friday.
Here's a report on the story and the scary evacuation of the trapped skiers from Ken Montoya of KOA TV. Skiers who arrived at the scene described the two gondola cars as looking like tuna fish cans. The 9 injured were taken to Vail Clinic. One is still undergoing treatment there. The other 8 were taken to a Denver hospital by helicopter.
It was one of the worst ski lift accidents in U.S. history.
This is Ken Montoya at Vail. Witnesses said that when the two cars collided, there was a sound like 2 cannon shots, which could be heard all over Vail Mountain.
I'm Kevin Vaughn. That report told Americans what happened that day on Vail Mountain. We wanted to tell the story of a tragedy that's been largely shrouded in silence ever since. An accident that reverberates still for the 3 remaining survivors.
So you guys are going to have to speak a little louder for me.
Okay. That's fair. Totally fair, I get it.
Perfect.
They're lifelong friends with one story.
This one.
Yeah.
Mike, get up.
The car started swinging wildly.
A story they've never really talked about.
Why don't they shut it down? Shut it down.
Not with each other.
Silence. Falling motion. Boom.
Not with anyone.
This is hard.
Until now. "50 years ago, an inexplicable accident took 4 lives. An accident they were lucky to survive. Wayland, Massachusetts sits 15 miles west of Boston. It's where 4 young men grew up, became friends, and learned to ski. And after high school, they all headed west. Greg Dietrich and Skip Coniera shared an apartment in Avon, 10 minutes west of Vail. Jack Manley rented a mobile home a couple hundred feet away. Waiting tables and working construction, they hit the slopes any day they could. Steve Mioli, a freshman at Colorado State, joined them the last week of March 1976, spring break. On that Friday, the 4 friends headed to Vail.
It was just a beautiful day, just a sunny, beautiful day.
Weather was gorgeous.
Temperatures in the 20s, fresh powder on the slopes.
It was just going to be, great, great skiing. So all were very excited.
In line for Gondola 2, the Lion's Head, and the day's first run, Jack Manley tested a leg aching from a recent fall.
Trying to put pressure on my leg to see if I was able to go that day. And I felt pretty good. I said, I think I can go.
Just after 9 a.m., the 4 friends from Wayland climbed into a red gondola car, number 25. 2 New Yorkers, Ari Potashner and Arnold Kortz, joined them.
Off and up the mountain.
They were more than halfway to the terminal at Eagle's Nest when everything changed.
All of a sudden, it was all bumpy, jarring around.
This doesn't feel right.
I think the first thought that I had was this shouldn't be happening.
Keeping the gondola aloft was a heavily braided wire a little more than 1.5 inches thick, the track cable.
After we went over that real bumpy part,
a cable unraveling.
And I could see a big strand of the cable hanging down.
That didn't stop the gondola.
But the car wasn't running right, and it wasn't hanging right. It was kind of cattywampus now.
The riders had no idea 2 of the car's 4 wheels had jumped off that frayed track cable, or that riders stepping off the gondola at the top reported strange noises and unsettling vibrations. Still running rough, the red car approached Tower 5.
When we were going in there, we weren't sure if we were going to make it through the next one.
We just slammed into the tower.
When we hit that, it was just terrifying.
The crashes blew out the car's windows.
We were just stuck there for a few seconds, and then we would slip back, and then we'd slam into the tower again.
Every car that rode over that damaged cable was in trouble.
And we're all going, why don't they shut it down? Shut it down.
Car 25 broke free.
I was freaking out. And then silence.
And then all of a sudden we're falling.
What happened next took less than 3 seconds. The car plunged 12 stories, crashing to the ground at 61 miles an hour.
Boom.
The riders collapsed into a heap of broken backs and broken legs, cracked ribs, a fractured jaw, internal injuries. Dietrich, unable to get a breath, crawled out into the snow, gasping for air.
And I finally started where I could take short little breaths. It's like, okay, I think I'm gonna be okay. And I'm looking up and I see the yellow car falling. And there was a lot of snow on top of the cables in the car, and snow is falling everywhere. And it's like, they're all falling. I thought they were all falling.
The moments after a gondola car crashed into Vail Mountain at 61 miles an hour are a jumble of fuzzy memories for Jack Manley and Skip Conieris.
I knew I had broken bones. Don't move.
The next thing I remember is waking up on the ground, laying in the snow.
I think somebody stepped on my broken leg. And there I just, I passed out.
A woman was there and I was holding her hand. I asked her, how are my friends?
The 6 people in car 25 may as well have been in a high-speed auto crash. Jack Manley's back was fractured, but that wasn't all.
My leg was obviously broken, but I also crushed all the joints in my ankle.
Skip Conieris, a collapsed lung, and more.
I broke my jaw, and so something must have hit me in the head, and I actually wonder if I didn't have a concussion.
A doctor concluded Greg Dietrich suffered a broken collarbone and fractured 2 ribs.
The bruising on this side of my body, it was from my neck through my shoulder and down into my ribs here, and then a lot of bruising on this side.
Steve Mioli, a broken back and internal injuries. Arnold Kortz, 2 broken legs and a broken back. Ira Potashner, a collapsed lung. But that's not the end of the story. At that moment, as the passengers of car 25 struggled to comprehend what had just happened, the disaster unfolding 125 feet above them quickly got worse. Car 60 crashed into another gondola hung up on Tower 5. Inside were South Dakotans Darlene Reese and her husband Gene, as well as Gene's sister, Aline Anderson of Boulder, and 3 teenagers, Janice Pasterkamp and her sister Carol, both from Inglewood, and Carol's roommate at Calvin College, Karen Tochtman. Car 60 jumped off the cable, turning upside down as it hurtled toward the ground. The impact drove the carriage through the roof. Janice Pasterkamp, 14, Karen Tochtman, 19, and Darlene Reese, 42, all died. A reality that 50 years hasn't dulled.
You know, what can you say? It's heartbreaking.
The rest of that terrible day was spent rescuing those trapped in the remaining cars.
Skiers, members of Vail Ski Patrol, doctors and nurses all rushed to help, moving the injured to Vail Valley Medical Center.
They had the whole lobby set up like a triage type unit.
On gurneys, Dietrich and Manley flanked Mioli.
Things were pretty blurry.
I think we all must have been on morphine or whatever they give you in an accident like that.
I do remember talking to Steve Mioli.
And I remember Steve and I were kind of joking, about the fall.
He said, Steve, are you okay? He said, not really.
As Flight for Life helicopters shuttled the injured to St. Anthony Hospital in Denver, Ski Patrol members went car by car, lowering 176 stranded passengers to the ground, one by one.
How long were you up there?
Since 9:15 this morning.
Passengers unaware of the tragedy that had unfolded beneath Tower 5.
What did you do for 6 hours?
Laughed,
talked about other things, that speculated maybe a little bit on what was actually going on.
As evening neared, 31 empty gondola cars hung on the line. Only Dietrich, nursing rib and chest injuries, remained in Vail, desperate to talk to his parents, unable to reach them on an overwhelmed phone system.
I'll get it. I wanted to hear my mom's voice. At some point that night, the phone in my room rang, and I picked it up, and it was my mother on the phone. She started crying. I'm going, Mom, I'm okay, we're all okay. Because I thought we were all okay.
As he lay in bed at St. Anthony Hospital, 20-year-old Skip Conieris listened to his father's words.
He said, I've got some bad news.
Listened, but had trouble hearing.
He said, your friend Steve died. It didn't register. I was just talking, and suddenly I was looking at my dad, and it suddenly occurred to me, he just gave me some bad news, and then it occurred to me, oh my God, Steve's dead. This is horrifying.
Stephen J. Mioli was 18, a student at Colorado State in Fort Collins. For 48 hours after his gondola car had crashed, it seemed like he'd be okay. He'd talked to his friends. He'd even spoken briefly to a reporter from his hospital bed. But he developed blood clots, and then his aorta burst.
It was a struggle.
The old buddies from Wayland, Massachusetts, all just a year or two out of high school, had enjoyed a week of fun. Mioli had come down for spring break, crashing at the apartment Conieris and Dietrich shared. Skip and Steve spent the day before the accident at Vail.
He and I had gone up the cable car together and talked, and he was telling me about his life, and I was telling him about what I was doing, and how was college, how was being a ski bum, and I liked him very much.
That night, Mioli popped for a steak dinner as a thank you.
He was just a nice kid.
Greg Dietrich was the only injured person who wasn't helicoptered to Denver. He was recovering at Vail Valley Medical Center when an administrator told him that Steve had died.
I didn't believe him. I'm going, no, Steve didn't die. Steve and I were talking to each other. Steve didn't die. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, that just sent me into a whole different spin, knowing that Steve is dead.
Steve was the guy that least deserved to die. Just a good young kid.
Steve was the nicest, gentlest out of the four of us.
The survivors ask the same question, one they can't answer. Why Steve? Why not me?
Me and Jack and Skip, we all could be punks at times, and it just seemed to me if somebody had to die, it should have been one of us. Not the good one. He should have lived.
He does live, in a way, in the hearts and minds of his three friends.
So this is dated February 20th, 1991.
Skip Conieris has kept this letter for more than 30 years.
Dear Skip.
A letter from Steve Mioli's dad.
Your warm, very, very welcome note was forwarded to us in Florida.
A response to Skip's letter telling Steve's parents about all the fun the friends had shared with him the last week of March 1976.
It is difficult for us to express how much we appreciate your sharing with us Steve's last few days. We know life is for the living. As we know, our memories and thoughts are permitted with the dead.
The film consists of about 2,600 individual frames, a minute and 51 seconds of footage.
The entire community seems to be shrouded in a kind of eerie state of shock.
Footage from one of the darkest moments in the history of skiing in Colorado. We weren't sure the three remaining survivors of that day would want to watch. You interested in seeing it?
Absolutely.
Greg Dietrich, Skip Conieris, and Jack Manley all did want to watch.
Oh, that picture, the one that landed upside down.
I know ours was the red one, car number 25, I'll never forget.
Never seen anything like that.
Wow. Those are some wild pictures.
There are many other moments from the day 2 gondola cars crashed at Vail, killing 4, including their friend Steve Mioli. Moments that live today.
So we were falling, and I just grabbed onto that post.
Only in the minds of the 3 remaining survivors.
I think we all knew we were going to fall.
Like the moment their car broke free.
I don't know if it got quiet or I just didn't hear anything anymore.
Just sort of a silence.
I was looking out the window at the sky, and it was like the first time I had ever really seen the sky. It was this blue color that I had really never seen before.
If you watch a movie and somebody falls off a cliff, they scream. I didn't recall anything like that.
I don't really think I thought I was gonna die. I don't know if it was because of my faith, my belief in God.
I was very sad because it occurred to me that the sky was a living spirit and that it was like a good friend.
If I am gonna die, I just wanna die fast. I wanna die quick. I don't wanna suffer.
I wasn't agitated. I was just sad that I wasn't going to be under the sky anymore.
They all lived through those same moments, but when it came to living with them, there was no one-size-fits-all reality. One is hobbled by an ankle injury not diagnosed for years and the onset of neuropathy. 2 began experiencing sleep-shattering dreams almost immediately.
The dreams I had at first were mostly of Steve.
Dreams that come even today.
It's always, I'm somewhere and I just start going up in the air and then I fall.
It's never a gondola.
And I always wake up when I start to fall. It's the most bizarre thing.
Being up in a very high place in a very precarious situation. Kind of holding on.
And yet, over 50 years, each largely suffered in silence.
I don't talk about this with anybody.
Not even with each other.
We just, how you doing? I'm okay. My shoulder's better, my ribs are better. How you doing? But we never talked about the day.
I think as young men, talking about being afraid or talking about being in pain, I think we were probably too insecure at that point in our lives to admit to each other how truly terrifying it was. And I think that terribleness is something that you just as soon not talk about.
The question about the 1976 Vail gondola accident would come up in gatherings. Gatherings where someone knew that as a young man, Jack Manley survived a 125-foot plunge into a mountainside. A fall that badly injured him and 7 others and killed 4. One of them, a friend.
I've been in places where you, hey, tell them what would happen to you.
The answer was always no.
I'm sorry, man. That wasn't an event, It was a tragedy.
A tragedy shrouded in silence for Manley and the other 2 remaining survivors. When Greg Dietrich left the Vail Valley shortly after the accident, he'd tired of people asking about it and speculating.
What do you people even know? Just shut up. You weren't there. You don't know anything.
It took 50 years before each would decide to tell the story, but it was not easy.
I think it. Sorry.
You can probably see that I'm not 100% comfortable.
Skip Conieris hoped it might help others.
I think a lot of people have to deal with all kinds of difficult, tragic events, and to some degree, sharing that experience with other people makes it a little less isolated and less frightening. I think the question you're asking, what happens after, is an important one.
A question with an answer nothing like the one Manley gave all those years.
Jack talked about some people like, tell us about it. And he said, it's not that kind of story.
It's not that kind of story. It's a story of a tragedy that touched 12 people who climbed into gondola cars on a sunny Friday. Sisters from Inglewood and a college student from Illinois. 2 men from New York, a couple from South Dakota, a woman from Boulder, and 4 young men from a small town in New England.
Last Friday, the sudden tragedy at Vail. Ski slopes and lodge became silent. 4 people died, 8 critically injured. As news went out over the wire services all over the country, many of us scattered in many places heard the news, and a cloud kind of came over our sky.